My name is Ji-won Kang, and the woman I love is bleeding in my arms. Her blood is warm, spreading across the marble floor of our apartment lobby, and I can't stop shaking. Not from panic this time. From rage. From terror. From the absolute certainty that my uncle has finally crossed a line there's no coming back from. Emily's eyes flutter, trying to stay focused on my face, and she whispers something I can't hear over the sound of my own heartbeat thundering in my ears. The bodyguard we hired 3 months ago is on the phone calling for help, his gun still drawn, his face grim. He got here too late. Just seconds too late. And now everything Emily and I promised each other, no violence, no bloodshed, keep our souls clean, all of it is drowning in red on white marble. I count silently, trying to ground myself. 1, 2, 3. But the numbers don't work anymore. Nothing works except the cold certainty settling in my chest. My uncle wanted war. Now he's going to get one. If you're here for part 2 of Ji-won and Emily's story, thank you for coming back. This chapter gets darker, more intense, but I promise their love remains the anchor. If this story moves you, hit that subscribe button, drop a comment about which moment hit you hardest, and like this video to help others find this journey. Your support means everything. Now let's dive into what happened after Ji-won took his stand. 3 months had passed since Ji-won confronted his uncle and the elders sided with him. 3 months of careful transition, of moving legitimate money into legal ventures, of hiring actual business managers instead of enforcers. 3 months of building something he could be proud of. And 3 months of looking over his shoulder because Dong-hyun had gone silent, which was more terrifying than any threat. Emily had moved into his apartment, the smaller one he'd chosen deliberately, away from the family mansion. She still taught English 3 days a week, still made banana bread on Sunday mornings, still beat him at chess approximately 15% of the time now. They'd settled into a rhythm that felt almost normal, if you ignored the occasional black car following them or the way Ji-won still slept with one hand on the Namibian stone she'd given him. We should hire protection, Park had suggested during their weekly meeting. The elder had become Ji-won's unofficial mentor, guiding him through the complexities of transitioning a criminal empire into legitimate business. Your uncle is planning something. The silence is strategic. Ji-won had resisted initially. Hiring bodyguards felt like admitting defeat, like accepting that violence was inevitable. But Emily had been practical about it. It's not about wanting to fight, she'd said, sitting across from him at their kitchen table with tea growing cold between them. It's about being smart. Your uncle already proved he'll use me against you. Let's not make it easy for him. So they'd hired Kim Min-jun, a former military security specialist who came highly recommended by contacts Park trusted. Min-jun was 42, compact and efficient, with a scar across his left eyebrow and eyes that missed nothing. He was also expensive, but Ji-won had stopped caring about money the moment he realized Emily was a target. My job is to keep you both alive, Min-jun had said during their first meeting, his tone flat and professional. That means you follow my protocols. No spontaneous cafe visits. No walking alone at night. No predictable routines. Your uncle will exploit patterns. Emily had adapted faster than Ji-won. She'd grown up in Toronto, daughter of immigrants who understood that safety sometimes required vigilance. She learned the panic button Min-jun installed in her phone, memorized the safe routes between their apartment and her school, stopped posting on social media about their location. Ji-won struggled more. The additional structure, the constant awareness, the way Min-jun would appear in doorways like a ghost, it triggered his ADHD in new ways. Too many variables. Too much to track. His medication helped, but some days the hypervigilance made him want to crawl back into his study and hide among his books. You're doing great, Emily would remind him when she caught him counting silently, grounding himself. This is temporary. Once your uncle accepts the new reality, things will calm down. But things didn't calm down. The first attack came on a Tuesday. Emily was leaving school, Min-jun walking 3 paces behind her as usual, when a motorcycle pulled up alongside them. The rider didn't speak, just pulled a knife and lunged. Min-jun moved with brutal efficiency, putting himself between Emily and the attacker, disarming the men in 4 precise movements that left the would-be assassin unconscious on the pavement. Inside, Min-jun had ordered, hustling Emily into the school building while calling the police. Now. Ji-won arrived 15 minutes later, his hands shaking so badly he could barely hold his phone. Emily was physically unharmed but shaken, and Min-jun's expression was grim. "This was a message," the bodyguard said quietly while Emily gave her statement to police. "Not a serious attempt. If your uncle wanted her dead, he would have sent someone better. This was psychological warfare. Making you afraid." "It's working," Ji-won admitted. "Good. Fear keeps you alert." Min-jun's eyes were hard. "But we need to change strategy. Defensive protection isn't enough. We need information." That's when everything shifted. Min-jun had contacts, people who moved in the same circles as Dong-hyun's associates, people who could gather intelligence without getting caught. Within a week, they had confirmation that Dong-hyun was planning something bigger. The motorcycle attack had been a test, seeing how good their security was, finding weaknesses. But the intelligence network revealed something else, something that made Ji-won's blood run cold. "Your mother," Min-jun said, laying photographs across Ji-won's desk. "She's not dead." Ji-won stared at the surveillance photos showing a woman in her late 50s, thin and fragile-looking, being wheeled through the grounds of a private psychiatric facility in Gangnam. Her hair was gray now, her face aged beyond what 20 years should have done, but he recognized her. The shape of her eyes. The way she held her hands. "That's impossible," Ji-won whispered. "She died when I was 12. I was at her funeral." "Your uncle lied." Min-jun pulled up medical records on his laptop, documents that shouldn't have been accessible but were. "She's been at Serenity Hills Psychiatric Hospital for 15 years. Admitted under a false name. Diagnosis, severe depression and psychosis. But look at the admission papers. Signed by Dong-hyun as her legal guardian." Emily came to stand beside Ji-won, reading over his shoulder. Her hand found his, squeezing tight. "He's been keeping her prisoner." Medicated into compliance, Min-jun confirmed. "The facility is legitimate, but expensive. Your uncle's been paying cash, keeping her existence off any records connected to the Kang family. The staff think she's just another wealthy family's embarrassment, hidden away to avoid scandal." Ji-won couldn't breathe. The panic attack was building, but underneath it was something harder, sharper. Rage. Pure and focused rage at a man who'd stolen his mother, who'd let a 12-year-old boy grieve a woman who was alive, who'd used that grief to control and manipulate for 15 years. "We get her out," Emily said firmly. "We break her out and bring her home." "It's not that simple," Min-jun warned. "The facility has security. And if we're caught, your uncle can claim you're trying to kidnap a mentally ill patient. He has legal guardianship papers." "Then we do it quietly," Ji-won said, his voice steadier than he'd expected. "No violence. No bloodshed. We agreed we wouldn't become people we don't recognize, Emily and I. We stick to that. But we get my mother out." They spent 2 weeks planning. Min-jun recruited specialists, not thugs or enforcers, but professionals. A retired nurse who could assess his mother's medical needs and safely reduce her medications. A lawyer who specialized in guardianship fraud. A driver who knew every back road out of Seoul. A forger who created documentation establishing Ji-won's legal claim as his mother's son. "The hardest part will be getting her to trust us," the nurse, a woman named Sun-hee, explained. "After 15 years of institutionalization and medication, her reality is going to be very different from ours. She may not even recognize you. We need to be gentle, patient, and prepared for resistance." Emily worked with Sun-hee on the approach, drawing on her teaching experience with children who'd experienced trauma. They created a simple plan: visit as a concerned family member doing a wellness check, establish rapport, and then during a second visit, execute the extraction during a shift change when security was thinnest. The first visit broke Ji-won's heart. His mother, Kang Yun-hee, sat in a common room, staring at a television she didn't seem to see. She was thin, almost skeletal, her hands trembling slightly from medication side effects. When Ji-won approached and said her name, she looked at him with eyes that struggled to focus. "Do I know you?" she asked, her voice rusty from disuse. "I'm your son," Ji-won said gently, sitting across from her with Emily and Sun-hee flanking him for support. "Ji-won. You knew me when I was 12. Something flickered in her eyes. Confusion. Pain. Then a wall came down, protective and automatic. I don't have a son. My brother says I don't have a son. Your brother lied to you, Emily said softly, leaning forward. We're here to help you. We're going to come back in a few days to visit again. Is that okay? Yun-hee looked at Emily with sudden focus, studying her face. You're not Korean. No, ma'am. I'm Canadian. My mother is from Namibia. My father is British. Emily smiled gently. I'm a friend of your son's. We care about you very much. For reasons Ji-won didn't understand, his mother relaxed slightly at Emily's presence. Maybe the foreignness was disarming, less threatening than the Korean faces that had controlled her life for 15 years. Maybe it was Emily's inherent gentleness. Whatever the reason, Yun-hee agreed to another visit. They executed the extraction on a rainy Thursday evening. Min-jun had timed it perfectly, the evening shift change, when the facility was at its most chaotic. Sun-hee went in first, posing as a visiting nurse doing a routine check on several patients. She administered medication to counteract some of Yun-hee's sedation, just enough to make her mobile without causing dangerous withdrawal. Ji-won and Emily entered during visiting hours, signing in with their forged documents. They found his mother in her room, already dressed in street clothes Sun-hee had smuggled in earlier. Are we leaving? Yun-hee asked, her voice clearer than it had been during the first visit. The reduced medication was helping. Yes, Ji-won said, offering his arm. We're taking you home. Dong-hyun will be angry. Dong-hyun doesn't get to control you anymore. Ji-won helped her stand, alarmed at how light she was. I'm your son. I'm taking care of you now. They walked out through the main entrance during the shift change chaos. Min-jun had created a small distraction, nothing violent, just a delivery truck blocking the main driveway, causing confusion. By the time security realized Yun-hee was missing, they were 3 blocks away in an unmarked van. The safe house was a small apartment in Incheon, far from Dong-hyun's usual territory. Sun-hee had set up a proper medical suite, ready to help Yun-hee through the medication withdrawal that would come. The lawyer was already filing paperwork establishing Ji-won's guardianship rights, building a legal case against Dong-hyun for fraud and unlawful imprisonment. We stay here for 2 weeks, Min-jun explained, doing a security sweep of the apartment. Until she's stable and the legal paperwork is filed. Then we move to a secondary location. Your uncle will be looking for her. Ji-won sat with his mother that first night, watching her sleep fitfully as her body adjusted to lower medication levels. Emily brought him tea, sitting beside him in the quiet. She called me Ji-won before she fell asleep, he said softly. She remembered my name. She's going to get better, Emily promised. It'll take time, but she'll come back to you. That's when Ji-won noticed the calendar on Emily's phone. She'd been tracking something, dates marked with small symbols he didn't recognize. What's that? He asked. Emily bit her lip, then smiled with a mixture of joy and nervousness. I was going to tell you after your mother was settled. I'm pregnant. 8 weeks. The world stopped. Then restarted with new color, new meaning. Ji-won pulled Emily into his arms, holding her tight, feeling tears he didn't try to stop. In the middle of chaos and extraction and fighting his uncle, life was happening. New life. Their life. We're going to be parents, he whispered. We're going to be parents, Emily confirmed, laughing and crying at the same time. Are you freaking out? Completely. Are you? Absolutely terrified. She kissed him softly. But we'll figure it out. One day at a time. Same as everything else. They told Min-jun the next morning. The bodyguard's expression didn't change, but his eyes sharpened. This changes the security profile. Prenatal appointments, hospital visits, all potential exposure points. We need to be more careful. We will be, Emily assured him. But Dong-hyun was already moving. The news of Yun-hee's disappearance reached him within hours. His rage was biblical. He'd kept her hidden for 15 years, used her existence as leverage he could deploy if Ji-won ever became too troublesome. The plan had been simple: if his nephew didn't cooperate, reveal that his mother was alive but institutionalized, use her as a bargaining chip. Now that leverage was gone, and worse, it revealed his deception to the family elders who already distrusted him. Dong-hyun did what cornered animals do. He attacked with everything he had. The assault came 3 days after they'd settled into the safe house. Emily had gone to a prenatal appointment with Sun-hee accompanying her, Min-jun driving. Ji-won stayed with his mother, who was having a difficult day, confused and frightened by memories returning in fragments. They hit the car 2 blocks from the hospital. 3 vehicles boxing them in, forcing Min-jun off the road. The bodyguard reacted instantly, reversing hard, trying to break free, but they'd planned for that. 2 men appeared with weapons, not trying to kill, trying to extract. Min-jun made a split-second decision. He put the car between Emily and the attackers, drew his weapon, and started shooting. Not to kill, he aimed for legs, arms, disabling shots that stopped threats without ending lives. The promise Ji-won and Emily had made echoed in his training. "Get down," he shouted at Emily and Sun-hee. "Stay down." Emily crouched in the back seat, hands instinctively protecting her stomach. Sun-hee covered her, using her own body as a shield. The windows exploded as someone fired back, and Emily felt something hot slice across her arm. Pain. Bright and immediate. Min-jun got them out. 3 attackers down but alive, screaming with leg wounds. He drove straight to the hospital emergency entrance, already on the phone with Ji-won. "We're hit. She's injured. Get your mother to secondary location now." Ji-won arrived at the hospital to find Emily in a treatment room, a doctor stitching a deep cut on her upper arm where glass or a bullet graze had caught her. She was pale but conscious, holding Sun-hee's hand. "The baby," Emily said immediately when she saw him. "They're checking the baby." The next 20 minutes were the longest of Ji-won's life. He held Emily's uninjured hand, counting silently, trying to breathe, while an ultrasound technician moved equipment into place. The doctor's face gave nothing away as she checked measurements, listened to heartbeat, assessed damage. "I'm sorry," the doctor finally said, and Ji-won felt his world tilt. "There's no heartbeat. With the trauma and stress, your body went into early miscarriage. It happens sometimes in the first trimester, especially with physical trauma. I'm so very sorry." Emily made a sound Ji-won would never forget. Not a scream. Something quieter and infinitely more broken. She turned into his chest and sobbed while he held her, his own tears falling into her hair, both of them grieving a future they'd just started to imagine. The doctor left them alone for a few minutes. Min-jun stood guard outside the door, his face grim. The attack had been surgical, designed to traumatize rather than kill. Dong-hyun knew exactly what he was doing. Punishing Ji-won in the cruelest way possible. "I'm sorry," Ji-won whispered against Emily's hair. "This is my fault. My family, my uncle." "No," Emily said fiercely, pulling back to look at him with eyes red from crying. "Don't you dare. This is not your fault. This is Dong-hyun's fault. This is violence and cruelty and evil, but it's not you. We're going to get through this. Together." They kept Emily overnight for observation. Ji-won never left her side, his hand holding hers, the Namibian stone in his other pocket worn smooth from constant touch. Min-jun had moved Yun-hee to the secondary location, a small house outside Seoul that Park had quietly secured. She was safe. They were alive. But the cost was devastating. The next morning, as Emily was being discharged, Ji-won got a call from Park. "I heard what happened," the elder said, his voice heavy with anger and sadness. "This has gone too far. Dong-hyun has violated every code, every principle of family." The other elders agree. "We're calling an emergency council." "What does that mean?" Ji-won asked. "It means we handle this the old way," Park said quietly. Dong-hyun threatened a pregnant woman. Caused the death of an unborn child. Imprisoned his own sister for 15 years. These are unforgivable sins, Ji-won. Even in our world, there are lines you don't cross. He crossed all of them. "I don't want more violence," Ji-won said, looking at Emily sleeping in the hospital bed, pale and heartbroken. "That's not who we are. I know. And I respect that. You and Emily keep your souls clean. Let those of us who've already walked in darkness handle Dong-hyun. This is not your burden to carry." 3 days later, Dong-hyun disappeared. Ji-won never asked what happened. Park never offered details. All Ji-won knew was that his uncle's assets were frozen, his associates scattered, and his name was struck from family records with the same finality he'd used to erase Yeon-hee. Some things, Park had said, required old solutions. The family would handle its own. Ji-won and Emily focused on healing. The grief was raw and constant. Emily would cry suddenly, triggered by seeing a mother with a stroller or passing the baby section in stores. Ji-won would find her sitting in their bedroom, hands on her stomach, mourning what could have been. But they healed together. Emily returned to teaching, finding comfort in her students' uncomplicated joy. Ji-won worked with Sun-hee to help his mother recover, watching Yeon-hee slowly emerge from 15 years of chemical fog. She was fragile, damaged in ways that might never fully heal, but she was alive. She was home. Min-jun stayed on, no longer just a bodyguard but a trusted friend. He'd kept them alive when it mattered most. He'd honored their request for no killing even while protecting them from people who had no such restrictions. He'd become part of their strange, wounded, healing family. 2 months after the attack, Emily woke up before dawn to find Ji-won sitting on their balcony, looking out at Seoul's skyline. She wrapped a blanket around both of them and sat beside him. "Can't sleep?" she asked. "Thinking about everything. My mother. The baby we lost. Dong-hyun. All of it." He took her hand, thumb tracing the scar on her arm from the attack. "We've been through so much." "We have," Emily agreed. "And we survived. That counts for something. Do you ever regret it? Meeting me? Getting pulled into all this chaos?" Emily turned to face him fully. "Ji-won Kang, you listen to me. I don't regret one single moment. Not the danger. Not the pain. Not even losing the baby, because loving you means accepting all of it, the beautiful and the terrible. We're building something real here. Something worth fighting for. I love you," he said simply. "I love you too." She kissed him softly. "And one day, when we're ready, we'll try again. For a family. For the future we want. But right now, we heal." They sat together as the sun rose over Seoul, two people who'd been broken and attacked and traumatized but refused to let violence define them. They'd kept their promise. No bloodshed by their hands. No becoming people they wouldn't recognize. They'd let others handle the darkness while they focused on light. Ji-won's mother was healing in the house outside Seoul, learning to be herself again after 15 years of chemical imprisonment. The family business was transitioning toward legitimacy, slowly but steadily. Min-jun was teaching Ji-won self-defense, practical skills that worked with his ADHD rather than against it. And Emily was beside him, always beside him, the woman who'd found him broken on a bench and stayed through everything that followed. "There's something I need to tell you," Emily said quietly as the sun cleared the horizon. "I wasn't sure how, and the timing never felt right after everything." Ji-won's heart quickened. "What is it?" "Your mother. She's been talking more as the medications clear. Remembering things." Emily hesitated. "She told me something yesterday. About your father's death. About why Dong-hyun really wanted him gone." "What did she say?" "She said your father found something. Documents. Proof that Dong-hyun was planning to take over the family businesses and eliminate anyone who stood in his way. Your father was going to expose him to the elders." Emily's grip on Ji-won's hand tightened. "She said Dong-hyun had your father killed. Made it look like an accident. Then locked her away because she knew the truth." The words hung in the morning air, heavy with implication. Ji-won's father hadn't died in a random car accident. He'd been murdered. By the same men who'd just tried to kill Emily and their unborn child. "She's willing to testify," Emily continued. "To tell the elders everything. But Ji-won, if she does this, if she goes public with what Dong-hyun did, it opens everything back up. The investigation, the family politics, all of it. Are you ready for that?" Ji-won thought about his father. About the men who'd wanted to make the family legitimate, who'd been killed before he could finish that work. About his mother, locked away for knowing the truth. About Emily, scarred and grieving but still standing beside him. About the child they'd lost to his uncle's cruelty. "Yes," he said finally. "I'm ready." Whatever comes next, we face it together. Emily nodded, but her expression was troubled. There's one more thing. Min-jun found something while investigating Dong-hyun's network. He has allies we didn't know about. People in positions of power who benefited from keeping things the way they were. Who? We're still gathering names. But G1, some of them are family elders. People who've been supporting you publicly but might have been working with Dong-hyun behind the scenes. We don't know who to trust anymore. The implications settled over them like snow. The battle wasn't over. It might be just beginning. Dong-hyun was gone, but his network remained. His allies were still embedded in the family structure. And now, with Yun-hee ready to testify about murder, everything was going to explode. What do we do? Ji-won asked. We gather evidence. We build an unshakable case. We find out who's really on our side and who's been playing us. Emily stood, pulling him to his feet. And we do it carefully. Because next time, they won't just attack us. They'll attack your mother, Min-jun, anyone we care about. We need to be smarter than we've ever been. Min-jun appeared in the doorway, his face grim. We have a problem. I just got word from my contacts. Dong-hyun isn't dead. Ji-won's blood ran cold. What? Whatever the elders did, it didn't work. He's alive, in hiding, and according to my sources, he's planning something. Something big. Min-jun pulled out his phone, showing them surveillance photos. These were taken yesterday in Busan. That's him. Different hair, but same scar on his hand from the chess piece you threw at him when you were 14. There he was. Dong-hyun, alive and free, talking to men Ji-won didn't recognize. Planning. Scheming. Coming for revenge. He knows about your mother, Min-jun continued. Knows she's going to testify. Knows about Emily's pregnancy loss. And he's not running anymore. He's regrouping. Building a new network. Whatever he's planning, it's going to be worse than anything we've seen. Emily and Ji-won exchanged a look. Everything they'd been through, the attack, the loss, the trauma, it had all been prologue. The real war was just beginning. Then we prepare, Ji-won said, his voice steady despite the fear coursing through him. We find his allies. We protect my mother. We build our case. And when he comes for us again, because he will come, we're ready. Together, Emily added, taking his hand. Together, Ji-won agreed. Min-jun nodded grimly. I'll make some calls. We're going to need more people we trust. This is going to get ugly. As Min-jun walked away to coordinate security, Ji-won pulled Emily close, breathing in her familiar scent, feeling her heartbeat against his chest. They'd survived so much already. Lost so much. But they were still here, still fighting, still refusing to become the violence that surrounded them. The sun was fully risen now, Seoul sprawling below them, beautiful and dangerous. Somewhere in that city, Dong-hyun was planning his next move. Somewhere, corrupt elders were protecting their interests. Somewhere, threats were gathering like storm clouds. But here, on this balcony, two people stood together. A Korean man with ADHD who'd learned he was stronger than anyone believed. A black Canadian woman who'd taught him that love was its own kind of courage. Both of them scarred. Both of them grieving. Both of them absolutely refusing to break. Whatever happens next, Emily said quietly, we face it with clean hands and clear hearts. We don't become them. We don't let them make us into monsters. We don't become them, Ji-won repeated, making it a vow. The war was coming. The real test was ahead. And somewhere in the shadows, Dong-hyun was watching, waiting, planning the destruction of everything Ji-won and Emily had built. But for now, in this moment, they had each other. And that would have to be enough. If you made it this far, you're invested in this story like we are. Part 3 is coming, and it's going to be intense. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what happens next. Drop a comment telling us your theory about who the corrupt elders are and what Dong-hyun is planning. And smash that like button because Emily and Ji-won need all the support they can get for what's coming. The war has just begun, and nobody is safe anymore. See you in part 3.